the new Apostate interviews. Kind of my fault that we're running a little late here. Noon is early for me. I'm used to being up all night, but I've got coffee, so yeah, I should theoretically not die in today's live stream. But today I'm talking to Lizzy Lang, coming to us from far in the future in South Africa, I think. How are you doing, Lizzy?
Yeah, it's I'm from Namibia, which is basically right on the left cheek of the ass end of Africa. So currently it is just past 7 p.m. here. So it's starting to get dark already, so the lighting is a bit crap.
Yeah, that'll happen. Ooh, a little bit of an echo.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm using my laptop mic.
All right. All right. Well, I like to start all my interviews the same. You don't use your channel that much. You actually only have 2 videos on it, I think. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Basically, I am a medical microbiologist and a biochemist, and I work at the University of Namibia, where I teach in the biological science department. I studied there my undergrad, and I am currently busy finishing up my PhD. So hopefully that will, sometime in the next year or 2, I'll be done with that. Yeah, we live in the capital, which is a little bit hot most of the time. Even in the winter, it doesn't really get very cold here. I grew up at the coast, so I'm more used to having like very foggy and very misty weather. Even though I've been living in Windhoek, which is the capital of Namibia, I've been living here for about 9 years. I'm still miserable, but you have to go where the jobs are. Most of the jobs are in the capital, and because Namibia only has one very large university, which is University of Namibia, I had to come to Windhoek because our main campus is here, and it's the only place where we have the science faculty. So here I am. We did have a little bit of rain in the last few days, which was actually quite nice. But right now it's basically in the middle of summer. December is usually the hottest month of the year. So we basically have to build snowman out of sand.
Well, that's wow. That's a pretty bad echo. But
and for those of you curious, this little baby over here, his name is Nero. He is my little heart, and I love him to bits. And he loves attention.
Yeah, he deserves it all. So.
Oh yes.
So what religion were you brought up with?
I was actually brought up in Christianity. Both of my parents are Christian. We don't really have a lot of very specific denominations here. Everyone just kind of goes to whatever church is closest to them. But we do have, for example, we have Roman Catholic churches, and we have Jehovah's Witness churches. Most of the others are more Protestant, I guess, and that's where my parents went to.
So pretty much the only one. I don't suppose you can get headphones, could you? Because that's pretty rough.
Sorry, just repeat that again.
Could you wear headphones? The echo is really rough.
I don't think I have headphones.
Oh crap! Well, it's all right. We'll find a way. So pretty much it's just the culty religions that, separate themselves from the overarching Christianity name.
I didn't quite catch that. Sorry.
It's the more culty religions, the more cult-like religions that separate themselves by name instead of just going by Christian.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because I do know that we have a Jehovah's Witness church here because I have some family members that are in it. I'm not quite sure if we have a Mormon church, but I do know that there's Catholic churches, and then most of the other ones are just Protestant, or like, it's more Protestant than Baptist.
All right. So, I mean, is there anything like really weird you remember about your former Christianity, or?
Yeah, I remember when I was about, I think I was 6 or 7. At that time, we were currently living in South Africa, as my dad was born there. And my parents had taken me to Sunday school while they attended the normal service. And I remember the Sunday school teacher like really didn't like me because I asked way too many questions. And I actually got a hiding because I was confusing the other kids. And she made me sit outside of the church to wait for my parents to finish their service. So I think after that, my parents tried to take me like to the normal service like once or twice, but I just kept falling asleep. So after that, they just kind of left me with a family friend, which was awesome because she had a blueberry tree. So I was very happy.
The things that make kids happy.
Yeah, that was a lot of more fun than having to sit in church. Throughout my life, I really didn't go to church very often. I didn't really enjoy it. The nice thing is my parents never really forced me to go. I did once go with another family member to a Jehovah's Witness church. I got a lot of very funny looks because I refused to wear a dress and I just had my normal like gothic get up. So the looks were interesting to say the least.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, no, I love to be a fly on that wall.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I'd love to have been a fly on that wall. That just sounds like it would have been a lot.
No, they only took me once. They only took me once. They never took me again.
I believe it. So, I mean, what was it that got you to, start questioning Christianity? Was it just the boredom, or?
No, I don't know. I think it was mostly when I started getting really into science, which was around my early teen years. I was kind of a like top performer in school, and my favorite subjects were the sciences. And as I grew older and started learning about evolution and the Big Bang theory and all of those, I kept questioning and questioning, but this doesn't line up with what I've been taught. And I think I just slowly transitioned out of it, but I only started calling myself an atheist a few years back, I think. I didn't really know that there was a word for it, to be quite honest. But when I got more into social media and I started talking to other people, and I'm like, hey, there's actually a label for me. So that was actually quite nice. And it also made me feel a little bit less alone because Namibia is an extremely religious country. About 80 to 90% of the population is Christian. And then we have a small Muslim population as well, but it's mostly Christian. So there's not a lot of atheists around. I was very lucky to find my husband. I actually didn't find out that he was an atheist until like after we got married, but he is. So that was just very good luck on my part. And I met quite a few people through him that I'm now friends with, and they're also atheists. So it's actually a lot less lonely because you can actually talk about it. My best friend is a Christian, but me and her talk about it quite often. And she gives her perspective, and I give my perspective, and everything is very chill between us. Like there's no arguments or her forcing me to believe what she believes or me trying to deconvert her or any of those things. We just get along very well.
All right. Mark Caesar's got a question. He wants to know, did you read the Bible more to work things out after you started doubting?
I did. I did start reading the Bible, and the Bible that I actually started reading was more the Jehovah Witness version of it, because at that time I was living with a family member that basically was in a Jehovah Witness church, and there was just some very atrocious things in it. I think that was the first time I actually really read the Bible, because throughout my life I just had these little children Bibles that I got as presents from like family members and so on, with all the very nice flowery rainbow stories. And then when I actually went and read the Bible, I was like, yeah, there's some crazy shit in here. And a lot of that just didn't line up with the evidence or like what science can actually provide us with. So yeah, no, definitely. I definitely read the Bible.
All right. You mentioned science not lining up with what you were taught. Were you raised young Earth creationist or creationist at all?
To a certain degree, yes. I think a lot of people in my family believe that the Adam and Eve story is like legit 100%. But I think the nice thing is for me is that for the most part, it wasn't really forced on anyone. Like when I started saying like I didn't want to go to church, no one really forced me to go to church, which I actually really appreciate. But yeah, I think most people in my family actually do believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Well, a little bit of bad news on that front.
A lot of bad news on the front.
Yeah, that would be one of those worldview upending kind of things. Yeah. I mean, so what got you into science?
Actually, quite funny. You know the series called Bones?
Yeah.
I loved that series, and I always wanted to be like her. And at that point in time is when I really started getting into like biology and sciences. And I remember like even in my first year of university when we had to write this report for our like first year intro English class about like what do we want to be and do in the future. And I actually wrote an entire paper on forensic anthropology. And I loved it so much. The only thing is like we don't have that courses here currently. The only courses at the university that we have for biology at the current time is either microbiology or environmental biology. And I'm a redhead, so I didn't do well in the sun. So environmental biology was not going to happen. So I went with microbiology. But my plan is still to one day go into forensic anthropology.
All right. Yeah. I can't say I ever got into drones, but I mean, if it worked and got you into science, so much the better. You are definitely one of the people I would qualify as smarter than me, so I wouldn't have a shot at understanding it. Treyx666 has a joke question. What are your thoughts on the farting lesbian penguins of Ecuador?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I recognize what the joke's from. I just can't put name to where it's from. My memory is garbage. Yeah. Yeah, farting lesbian penguins of Ecuador. That one's gonna eat at the back of my brain until I finally remember it. But
I say good for them. Good for them. It's better out than in.
that's a good point. It is. Yeah, I mean, if you hold it in, it goes up your spine and into your brain. That's where your shitty ideas come from. Shitty joke from when I was a teenager, and I genuinely thought that kind of thing was hilarious. Uh, so, I mean, are you planning on putting more videos up on your channel, or are you planning on just kind of stopping where you're at?
I want to. I have like kind of a double-sided issue. One, my internet sucks. It sucks. Those two videos that I uploaded, and it was very bad quality because I filmed it on my phone. It took me 5 hours to upload them.
Wow.
And the second one is I don't really have a lot of time. Because between like working and studying and like my family life and all that and my health issues, I don't really have a lot of time to film YouTube videos. But I do hope that one day in the future I might be able to. And my plan is to have it more in like a science oriented direction and make some scientific videos.
Maybe teach people a thing or two.
Yeah, I actually do very much enjoy microbiology. Like even though it wasn't my exact first choice because I wanted to do forensic anthropology, but when I got into it, I actually started really enjoying it. You can do so much with microbes, and you can understand so much about life by studying microbes because they're like the smallest little things, but they have all of these complex systems, and you can manipulate these systems to basically give you what you are looking for. So with me, I focus more on like the medical microbiology aspect. So I basically look for microbes that produce medicinally important biomolecules. So it's extremely interesting. A lot of people have asked me why I didn't choose to go into medicine, because a lot of people think I would have been really good at that. My issue is I will be crying more than my patients. I will not be able to deal with people in pain. I can't do it. It's the same reason I can't be a vet. I can't deal with animals in pain. So I would rather be the one making the medicine or discovering it rather than administering it.
I understand that. I couldn't go into medicine either. I don't do well watching needles go under people's skin. It messes with me in like all the wrong ways.
I have no problem with blood, and I have no problem with cadavers either. I actually, with a friend of mine, she was studying pharmacy at the medical campus, and we were allowed to go into the cadaver lab and like play around there with the cadavers that have been already worked on because they're just going to be disposed of anyway. But that I actually have no problem because like, the person isn't there anymore. It's just a body, like they're not in pain. So with that, I have no problem. I have no problem with blood. I have dissected multiple organs during my studies because you do still have to take like physiology and anatomy, even if you're doing micro, just to get like the basics of everything. That was actually the funny. We had to dissect the heart. I think we were in second year. It was a subject called animal form and function, and we had to dissect a heart, and we were in like a little group of I think 5 students, and we only had one male student with us in the group, and he was the one that passed out because our heart wasn't completely bled out properly. So when we cut the aorta, it just kind of spat everywhere. Yeah, that was quite a learning experience, but needles freak me out. Needles freak me out. I also don't like it. I just always get like this idea in my head, like it's going to go in and then it's going to break and then it's going to get stuck there. I really don't like needles either.
See, and now that's the thing. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
I'm sorry if I need to suffer. You need to suffer with me.
So Triax reminded me what the farting lesbian penguin thing was from. It's the joecartoon.com flash thingy. Like gerbil in a blender or something like that, which was a very real thing they did. Not real gerbils.
You can send me a link. You can send me a link because I have no idea what that is.
I'll
That's what
definitely
happens when you live in the ass end of Africa. You're very disconnected from everything else.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I don't have any problem with blood. I can look up blood just fine. I can do dissections just fine. It's when the needle goes under the skin. No,
Yeah,
no, that's why.
I'm the same. I'm the same. The weird thing is though is I have a tattoo and I'm actually getting one in a few weeks. Another one that doesn't bother me. Like tattoo needles are fine,
Yeah,
but
I
like
think it's 'cause they
medical
don't
needles,
go as
no.
deep. I think it's because they don't go as deep. That's got to be it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
And it's actually really not that painful. Like the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's a bit touchy, but then after a while, your skin is just pretty much numb and you don't feel anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, unless you get to like a really fleshy part of the body, like I've got a tattoo that goes over this
Yeah,
fleshy
any
bit.
place where the sun doesn't really reach, or like any place that's extremely bony, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, yep.
I was sitting with a friend for 5 hours when she got her tattoo. This was before I even had one, and she was yelling for the entire 5 hours, and it freaked me out so bad. And I think it was about 4 years ago, when my husband and I were still just dating. We went to a bikers rally, and they had a bunch of tattoo artists there, and they were giving everything on special because it's a bikers rally. So he sat down for a tattoo, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm doing this. I've always wanted one. I'm just always been way too scared because of a bad experience. I'm getting one now. That was fine. I survived. I did not shed one tear.
There you go. Excuse me. Um, but once again, Josiah is proving just how good of a friend he is. At the bank right now. Needles in 3, 2, 1. You sucker.
Rather you than me.
Yeah, I don't.
I haven't actually ever donated blood. I tried once and it passed out halfway through. So and my husband has a bit of a like his blood clots really quickly. So when they try to like draw the blood when he's donating, the bag isn't even a quarter way full and his blood has clotted and it won't come out. So they have to stick the needle somewhere else.
Oh, see, I think because I was stationed over in Germany when mad cow was a fear, I can't donate blood, which kind of sucks. But you know, we we do what we have to. Um,
Yeah,
so
I don't think
when
I don't even know what my blood type is,
hmm?
which is scary. I don't even know what my blood type is. I know my husband's O negative. I don't know what I am.
No.
But it's fine because if I'm about to die, he can still give me blood. They don't need to know.
I'm A positive. The only reason I know is because the Air Force made sure I got it right on my dog tags. That's it. Uh, otherwise, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, I've just never really had the need to get my blood type tested.
Makes sense. I mean, the doctors can do that pretty well on the fly anyway, I'm sure. Yeah. But
Yeah, I can actually do it in the lab myself. I just need the correct antigens for that, but those are expensive.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite easy. Um, it's actually quite easy. What you do is you have the antigens like for A or B, and you just like put it in a little vial and you put your blood in there. And if it coagulates, then it means that you have that specific antigen on your blood cell. So if it coagulates with the A, then you have A. If it coagulates with the B, then you have B. If it coagulates with both, then you have AB. And if it coagulates with nothing, then you have O. So it's actually quite easy to find out what your blood type is.
nice. Um, so I'm kind of wondering what the spectrum of science you're going to talk about on your channel is going to be once you start getting it going. Are you going to like cover the full spectrum of science, or are you going to keep more to biology?
I think in the beginning I'll more on biology because it's my field of expertise. I will probably also go chemistry because I do have my degree. I did both microbiology and biochemistry, so I can talk about both of those. Physics is subject. Like I find it interesting, but there's it's a little bit complex for me. I will actually need to get one of those books that says like physics for dummies. So
that would probably be me too, honestly. So can we expect anything like R and Ra's fundamental methods of creationism to come from you? Because I mean, biology makes sense. Be there.
sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was wondering if the internet decided to not work right. Can we expect anything like R and Ra's fundamental falsehoods of creation?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not really one of those people that really go after like religious people very often. I normally only do when they come at me first, which is normally in the weirdest threads. Like the other day, I was sick. I got some food poisoning, and I uh, ended up having to go to the hospital to get an IV just so that I can like just stop vomiting. And this person came into my thread and told me that I was sick because God was punishing me for being an atheist. So those are the people I go at. But most of the time, like if you leave me be, I have no problem. As long as you don't try and force your beliefs on anyone else, I really don't care what you believe. I'm fine with everyone.
Yeah, I actually remember the person you're talking about. Remembering correctly, I retweeted what they said, saying "fuck you, don't be like this." Yeah, because people like
I mean,
that.
it's normally in threads like that, like threads that have absolutely nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with atheism, and have to come interject themselves there. I know, like a lot of the times we have like a Follow Friday thing going on, and we're all just having fun in the thread, and everyone is just chill, and then some creationist needs to jump in and just ruin everyone's fun. And the thread wasn't even about religion or atheism or none of that. So that frustrates me.
Yeah, some people can't help themselves. I mean, they are commanded to go forth and conquer. Let's be honest, it's conquer.
Yeah.
They've kind of ruined the world doing that, I think. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more science related questions because I don't get a whole lot of STEM people on my channel. But
Well,
I mean,
I can maybe like give you a little bit of a run through for what I'm doing for my dissertation.
yes, do that, please.
Okay. So basically, we have this plant that is indigenous to Namibia, some parts of Botswana, and then some parts of South Africa. It's called the devil's claw. And the scientific name is Harbophytum procumbens. Yeah, it's a very unique plant. It has an extremely large like tuber, and then it grows very flat to the ground with its leaves, and then it has these little fruits that turn into literal claws, and they stick to the furs of animals and so on so that they can be spread around. So this plant has traditionally been used especially by like the San people in Namibia for medicinal purposes, especially for things such as inflammation. So it has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So what we basically wanted to see, because there's been a lot of studies on the devil's claw, but we wanted to see if it had any endophytes that might be contributing to the activity. So endophytes are basically microorganisms such as bacteria or fungi that grow inside the plant, but they have like a mutualistic relationship. So the plant is providing them with something and they are providing the plant with something. So they are basically in a symbiotic relationship with one another. So we basically wanted to see if there are any endophytes that are helping with the activity of the plant, giving its medicinal purposes, but we focused solely on actinomycetes. So actinomycetes are basically a very special type of bacteria, and they produce about 70% of like all known bioactive compounds, especially antibiotics. They are the main producers of antibiotics. So I had to basically collect some of the plants and then extract or plate the actinomycetes, and then from them, you basically let them grow in like broth and have them excrete all of these secondary metabolites that they produce. And then you just remove the broth from the cells, and then you can take this broth and you can use different solvents to basically extract the metabolites that are in there, and then you run various tests with this. So we did like antibacterial tests where we tested it against a bunch of human pathogens to see if they stop the growth of these pathogens. We did antioxidants tests. Then we also tested them against antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria that we got some clinical strains from the hospital that we tested them against. We also wanted to basically identify these actinomycetes. So you have to also extract the DNA, run a PCR. So PCR is basically a polymerase chain reaction. So basically what you do is you are trying to multiply a specific gene region within the actinomycetes, and then you can run what they call sequencing, because that specific gene region is normally very specific to the species, so that you can identify what species you basically found. We did morphological tests on them. We did biochemical tests on them to see if they produce any useful enzymes. What else? We did so many things on this poor little bugs. We ran a lot of tests on them. But it was actually quite successful, and I am now currently in my like write-up phase. So hopefully that will be going well. We also basically tried to identify some of the compounds that we extracted. So that was more like analytical chemistry. So what we did is we ran some TLC plates, which is thin layer chromatography. So it basically uses a solvent system to separate whatever metabolites are in this thing that you extracted. And then we also a GCMS, which is gas chromatography that is linked to mass spectrometry, which helps you to identify the compounds that you have extracted. So it was very interesting. It was very interesting. If anyone has questions, like if you didn't quite get what I said, like feel free to ask.
Yeah, I can watch that again. Chat, do you remember when I said Lizzy was smarter than me? Yeah, that stands. Actually. So, I mean, what are the chances of some new, I'm assuming, anti-inflammatory drug coming from this study that you were working on?
Yeah, hopefully, either anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidant. There's a lot of potential there, because the plant is mostly only used for anti-inflammatory, but it's used for a lot of other smaller things. But like the main focus so far has always just been anti-inflammatory. So we wanted to see if there are any other things that the plant might be able to do. So it's very, very, very interesting.
Now, because I've got food on my mind almost constantly, is it edible?
Sorry, can you repeat that? You cut out a little bit.
Is it edible?
The plant, technically, yes, it doesn't taste very good. But when the indigenous people used it, they either like make like a paste, they make it into a concoction that you can drink. Sometimes they make it into a vapor, like they boil it up and you inhale the vapors. So you definitely can eat it. It just, yeah, it doesn't taste very good. It's just it's a tuber plant, but it tastes nothing like a potato.
We got another science question from Josiah Hansen. Which is the best Ninja Turtle?
You see, I'm stuck between two. If you haven't noticed, I really like blue and purple. I like Leonardo because like he's like the leader of the gang, but I also really like Donatello, so it's very difficult for me to decide.
I think you might be the first person that took that question seriously at all. But
I grew up as kind of a nerd.
there's nothing wrong with that. Most of the people Josiah's at haven't even had a clue what Ninja Turtles is. So just by having
I do know that I do know my brother will argue with me and say that Raphael is the best. I don't know. I guess my brother likes people with anger management issues.
Well, I used to identify with them for that reason, but not as much now. More level-headed and
I like Donatello because he's smart, but then Leonardo is a leader, so it's very I don't know.
If I had to take a guess, I think you lean more with Donatello than Leonardo, but I don't know. Mark Caesar wants to know if the Devil's Claw is hallucinogenic.
No, it's not. Unfortunately. If it was, it would be illegal here.
Yeah, we know where
our country is still very strict. Like anything to do with weed is severely illegal here.
Oh damn. Let's see. Mark says nobody ever says Raphael. Wonder why. So
I guess my brother likes him.
Yeah, so I'm getting a little curiosity in the chat about speaking other languages, mostly because I'm guessing nobody understood what you said on your science rant. Do you speak any other languages?
I speak Afrikaans. My mom is Afrikaans. My father is English, so I can speak both of those. My husband can speak Afrikaans, English, and German. My German sucks. I have tried to no avail to learn, and I have given up. I have given up.
Well, it's been a few years since I've spoken any German, but I don't know. From what I remember, it's not too hard. But different brains work differently. So
I get the articles completely messed up, and then I just sound stupid. Because in both Afrikaans and English, there's just one, the, and in Afrikaans is die. So that's it. German has all of these that I can't keep up with. I tried French at one stage. I took a beginner's class, but then when the lady told me that everything like has a sex, like a table is female, so it's la table, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna remember any of this.
Yeah.
I suck at languages. I suck.
Yeah, I can't say I've tried to learn French, but yeah, it really. I think pretty much everything in German has a sex too. So like a lot of those
I
European.
know. My husband was arguing with me that it does it. I'm like, it does. It does. And you write the weirdest things with a capital letter. But the French classes I actually just took because a friend of mine is obsessed with France and Paris, and she wanted to take the class and she didn't want to go alone, so I went with her. It was a huge waste of time. I remember I learned more about my teacher's personal life than I did about French.
Well, that's probably not what you want.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard Afrikaans spoken very much. Could you speak a little bit for us? I'm kind of curious to hear it.
What would you like me to say?
Not a clue. This is
Let me think.
one of the more off the cuff questions.
Hello, my naam is Lizzy Lang en ek kom van Namibia af. So I basically said my name is Lizzy and I come from Namibia.
Sounds fairly similar to German, actually.
It is one of the roots. Like Afrikaans is what they basically, what a lot of people term kind of a dumpster language, if you want to put it like that. Because it was basically made because after like the Dutch got here and the British got here and everyone was just here and they couldn't really communicate with the locals. Everything was taken and they made one language from everything. So like German, Dutch, English, Portuguese, like, everything, just one language.
Kind of like English.
But it has improved. The other thing, the thing about Afrikaans I don't like is it has extremely long words. So if it's one concept, it's one word. So they have really, really long words. So that can get very annoying.
Well, like compound words or?
Yeah, very, very long compound words. I don't really use it very often. I think the only people that I actually speak Afrikaans to is my mother. I love her to bits, but her English is terrible. I also speak Afrikaans to my husband's mother. She's Afrikaans. His father's German. And then I speak Afrikaans to my mother's side of the family mostly. But I don't really see them very often. I only see my aunt and my grandparents. So most of the time, I just speak English. I remember at one point, I think it was still this year, I was on the phone at work with my mother, and one of my colleagues just like stopped dead in their tracks and they looked at me and they're like, "Oh, you can speak Afrikaans?" I'm like, "No, you heard nothing."
Oh, hell. I think Josiah would like to learn how to say pheasant in Afrikaans.
Say pheasant? I don't know what that is though.
That's a
I don't
bird.
think there is a direct Afrikaans word. I
Hmm?
don't think there's a direct Afrikaans word. It's like that translation that I posted on my Twitter feed a few days ago, where like the English translation said something about "I will thunder you lightning" or something like that. But like the sentence was, "Ek sal jou donder bliksem." Your bliksem. So that basically just means I am going to beat you up, you asshole. So the translation was terrible. Terrible.
I mean, that's kind of what we get for trusting Google Translate. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like, since you don't really have much of a channel full of stuff to be proud of? Is there anything you've done scientifically that you're really proud of, or professionally, since you are a scientist?
Well, currently the only thing that I publish is in a local journal, so I don't know if it's like available to other people, but hopefully by next year, we are planning on publishing in a journal called Frontiers of Microbiology. It's an international journal. So as soon as that's out, I will definitely be sharing it with everyone.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Me
Yeah.
too, because here, like if you're doing like lower grade studies, like most of the time, you just publish locally. But as soon as you like get a bit up there, then they're like, okay, we're gonna publish internationally now. Get your shit together.
Yeah. Definitely send me that when it does get published, and I'll link it down in the description with
Definitely,
everything
definitely.
else.
Um,
And
I have attended a few conferences. I attended one in October, where I actually won second place. And I also, like a few years back, I basically took part in this. It was called the Science Slam debate, where we had to like be in a debate team of 3 people. We were actually debating genetically modified organisms, and our team was for it, and we also won that. So that was very, very nice. But mostly, like my achievements throughout my life has mostly been academic wise. I've always been like the top student throughout my schooling years. And then I graduated with a cum laude when I finished my undergrad. So I'm very proud of that.
yet another time when you demonstrated. But yeah, I mean, no, that's actually pretty cool. I wouldn't imagine that a whole lot of people get that experience. I mean, it's got to feel real good to be doing so well, and you're not that old. You're pretty young still, right?
Yeah, I'm 27.
Yeah. So yeah, you're accomplished already, and I'm expecting a little more. Someone as smart as you, there's more. There's more coming down the pipeline. But yeah, no, definitely.
Well, I can say another one of my accomplishments is like I found a really, really good husband, and he's amazing, and I love him to bits. My husband is a mechanical engineer, so he's also kind of in the sciences. He will argue that it's not a science, and I'll argue it is a science.
I mean, the E in STEM is engineering. So. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and I explained to him the one day that they use the scientific method. So I told him, like, you look at the car and then you question, like, what's wrong with the car? And then you basically form a hypothesis, like, this is wrong with the car. And then you need to carry out the experiment to see if that is wrong with the car. And then you need to fix the car. And then you need to, like, retest to see if it worked.
Critical Cripple wants to know what's been said about you getting or being the first to get a PhD.
Oh, I will be the first in my family to get a PhD. I'm actually the first in my family that has a university degree. My dad had a college degree. I think he went to Switzerland and did something in accounting. But yeah, I'm the first person that has a 4-year university degree in my family.
That's pretty cool. That's something to brag about.
Yeah, no, our family hasn't always been the most financially endowed, I guess you could say, but my parents tried very hard to make sure that I got to go to university.
Well, it's a good thing they did, because I get the feeling that you're going to do a lot of help with coming out with some drugs later. That sounded bad.
Yeah.
Can I rephrase that?
Yeah, no, everyone kind of came together because I remember when I finished high school, we didn't have enough money for me to go study. So I basically worked for a year and I saved up all the money that I could. And I only had enough for my first year. And then I think I was still short a little bit. And my aunt actually, I went to go stay with her while I was studying. She borrowed money from work to help me pay. And luckily, after the first year, I applied for a scholarship because I was the top student, like in not just in the faculty, but in my whole year. I was the best student in the university in my first year. I applied for a scholarship at the Michelle McLean Foundation, and I actually got one, and they paid for the next 3 years of my studies. So I was very lucky because we didn't know how we were going to pay.
Yeah, and I think Mark Caesar basically summing up what all of us are thinking. Situations like that give you huge respect for your parents. You know,
Yeah, no, definitely. My parents and my aunt, because I had to like stay with her and my grandparents while I was studying because I couldn't really afford accommodation. My aunt basically takes care of my grandparents. They're both deaf, so she has basically dedicated her entire life to taking care of my grandparents, which I think is extremely noble. And she's like a second mother to me. I love her to bits. She has always been there for me when I was younger, when I was struggling. Yeah, she's also just an amazing woman.
like, sounds like what it would be.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm kind of curious. What was the most difficult thing about Christianity to kind of get over and move past?
I think the most difficult thing is basically trying to accept that if a loved one dies, they're gone. I guess that's one of the biggest reasons that a lot of people try and hang on to it because it has like this soothing effect that you think that if someone dies, you're going to see them again. And if someone dies, they're in a better place. I think that was probably the hardest for me to accept that, this is the one life we get. So we better not fuck it up. We better use it to the best of our abilities and make the best of what we have.
Yeah, that's something that you're definitely doing. Yeah.
Hopefully someday soon I'll be able to. Our plan is actually to try and move either to the UK or to Canada. So I just want to finish my studies first because then it will be easier for me to get a job that side. So that is actually the plan. I have actually never left Africa in my life. The only places I've been is Namibia and South Africa. That's it.
You've got a little bit of travel.
I've never been on a plane. I have never been on a plane.
We're gonna have to change that.
I've been on a helicopter. Haven't been on a plane.
I don't think I've been on a helicopter actually, so you're beating me there. But I mean, how close to your PhD are you?
Probably about a year or two out. It depends on how long it takes us to publish, because that's normally the most difficult part. It's a very long back and forth with the publishers. So it all depends on that. I was a little bit set back this year because I had some health issues. So I fell a little bit behind, but I'm planning on catching up.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm hopefully the whole PhD thing goes well for you, because I mean, how cool would that be to have?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Hopefully the PhD, getting your PhD works out, quickly, because how cool would that be to have?
Yeah, my aim has always been to get it before I turn 30.
Yeah, and yeah, you're 27, so it's a distinct possibility. So, if it only takes you a
Very
year,
excited.
yeah, you should have it soon. It's definitely very exciting. Now because this is the internet, and the internet is not kind to women, do you think that'll get some people to back off?
Probably not. Probably not. I don't know why. I feel like the science is one of the areas that people just feel like Google is God. Like it doesn't matter what degree you have, they have a degree in Google search. So they know better than you. So you can like try and explain to them, like, no, it's this way and this way, and this is why, and this is why. They're like, no, but this thing on Google. I'm like, okay. I give up. I give up.
Well, I mean, you can find anything on
It's
Google.
extremely frustrating. Yeah,
Why
and
would
the thing is, if you tell them that like you're a biologist, they're like, oh, you're using like um from argument from authority, and I'm just like, okay, that's not how that fallacy works, but okay.
Oh, it's not. Oh my God. Some people, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I have actually not like encountered that in real life like very often, but on the internet, everybody's an expert.
Yeah, and an armchair expert at that, so even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, all right. So we're getting to the end. So chat, if you have any more questions for Lizzy, you got a minute or two to get them in. But I do like to start and end the same way, like I said from the jump. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your awesome studies in biology and soon to be PhD?
Yeah, okay. So, like I said in the beginning, Lizzy Lang. I live in Namibia, which is basically left cheek of the ass end of Africa. So it's all the way down in the desert. And I work at the University of Namibia in the biological science department. I am a medical microbiologist and a biochemist, and I am currently doing my PhD. So I'm very excited to one day be Dr. Lang.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to that day too. Now, just because I don't know, Afrikaans sounds kind of cool to me. Can you say that in all that in Afrikaans?
Okay, so my naam is Lizzy Lang. Ek bly in Namibia. Dit is aan die poepelkant van Afrika. Ek werk by die Universiteit van Namibia. Ek is 'n microbiologist en 'n biochemist daar en ek is besig om my PhD te doen. I cannot say science words in Afrikaans. I'm sorry.
Right. Oh. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like a bubbly kind of language. I'm not sure how to qualify it either. But
In all honesty, like I actually find it quite an annoying language. I know it sounds weird because it's one of my like mother tongues, but for the most part, I actually kind of avoid it. I don't know. Like when people from Namibia actually speak it, it's still relatively and then like, people from South Africa have a different accent, and I don't know, it just all of the accents, some of them just like kind of get on my nerves, because a lot of the time when people speak Afrikaans, even though they're not trying to be, they sound very condescending. Condescending.
Oh, yeah, and Randolph Richardson says lots of people, including me, are cheering for Lizzy Lang future PhD.
Oh, thank you, Randolph.
No, definitely looking forward to that day. Wait, what? Oh, Josiah wants to know which one of those sounds in particular was left butt cheek.
Oh, butt cheek would be poople.
See, I'm a real child. That sounded like poop. I'm so glad I can be an adult. So glad I can be an adult. But yeah, I mean that was all I had, and I think poop hole is a great high note to end on. Thank you for coming on to the channel for an interview. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I also had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So everyone, assuming StreamYard and YouTube are communicating properly, you should be able to find links to Lizzy's Twitter, YouTube, and I want to say there's something else in the description. I just can't think of it. But yeah, definitely follow her on Twitter. Hopefully one day she'll be putting up more videos, so subscribe to her YouTube channel as well. And hey, I'm trying to beat BMillzebub Atheist to 500 subscribers, so subscribe to me too if you haven't. But yeah, thanks again, Lizzy, for coming on. A lot of fun. And hopefully you get a PhD sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.